Thanks, Abby. Hi, everybody, and welcome to our Thought Leaders panel for motorsports. Obviously, motorsports, there's a lot of different variations. There's even virtual motorsports as well, as we saw last year during the pandemic. But there's always a lot of technology innovation around them, and we're here to have a really great conversation. Kevin and David, thank you so much for joining us to discuss from the Ross video and the Veritone perspectives what motorsports means to your organizations. And I do want to kind of set the table because everyone out there may not understand what exactly motorsports does mean to your organization. So Kevin, let's have you go first as far as from the Ross video perspective. How are you involved in motorsports productions? Where does Ross kind of fit in?
Yeah, thanks, Ken. Ross video technology has been in use at every NASCAR event on Fox and NBC for the last several years. XPression is a rendering platform for all the real-time telemetry-based graphics that use the GPS data to capture speed and position around the track. And we also recently expanded our footprint for in-venue production within motorsports facilities, similar to what we have done in other major sports.
Excellent, great. And yeah, David, from the Veritone perspective, how are you guys involved on a week-to-week basis with motorsports?
Yeah, well, basically, we work with the likes of Gran Turismo Sport. We work with Formula E, Extreme E, and the European Truck Racing Championship. And we do a similar thing for all four organizations, which is provide our Veritone Digital Media Hub, which is an AI-powered intelligent asset management platform. And it really basically enables the federation and all of their production partners to aggregate content into one central hub, and then basically share it globally with their rights holders by providing secure access.
Excellent, great. Yeah. So Dave, let's follow up because I want to talk a bit about race day operations. So how do they engage with the digital media hub on the race day? Obviously, they have the core production. So how does kind of content flow into it, and then how do people get it out of it? Walk us through that process a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, basically, Digital Media Hub, or DMH, it's cloud native, so it's hosted in the cloud in AWS. It talks to various cloud object storage like IBM or Microsoft Azure or AWS. In these cases, in motorsports, we're working with our technical partner, Base Media Cloud, who provide the underlying cloud object storage and accelerated transfer. So that's fully integrated. Really on race day, well, prior to race day, obviously, the preparation for the races and indeed afterwards, but on race day, we'll have multiple production partners who are working with the federation uploading content. And really, we've built, fast upload using the likes of IBM Aspera for accelerated file transfer. and basically the content is uploaded by, for Extreme E, we've got North One, we've got Aurora Media Worldwide, for example. But there's also digital production companies, et cetera, et cetera. So the idea is that we've built this accelerated input into the hub. So everything is going in as standard metadata, standard media, et cetera, et cetera.
Gotcha. And I'm guessing it's all web-based clients for the most part, right? On the other end, right? Exactly.
Yes.
How about phones? Can you get into it from phones and iPads and that kind of stuff, or is that next
gen? In theory, absolutely, but we don't do it right at the moment. But the potential is there, absolutely.
Right. Excellent, great. Yeah, and Kevin, from your perspective, as far as race days, I know what you mentioned the in-venue stuff, and obviously XPression's a big part here in North America, in a lot of venues. Let's talk Indy 500 because I know that was a big, massive event here in the U.S. I think about 135,000 people at the track this year. So Indianapolis is going on. Went all in. But I know that they also redid the venue last year, which kind of stunk because they put all this beautiful new signage in and there were no fans there. So this year finally got to use it. So walk us through Indy 500 and kind of the role there that you guys play.
Oh yeah, this past Indy 500 was a special one for both Ross Video and Indianapolis Motor Speedway. As we know, 2020 was a challenging year, and the Indy 500 was delayed until August without any fans present. So during the spring of last year, as you mentioned, we worked with IMS to upgrade all of their venue control production technology with our Ross solution. So we've been doing this for years in major sports venues like the NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, and it was great to bring that to the racetrack as well. The upgrades included over 30 new video boards, including the 100-foot-long Pagoda Plaza media board, all driven by our unified venue control solution using dashboard, XPression Tessera, and Carbonite Mosaic the production staff were able to welcome back fans Memorial Day weekend for this recent Indy 500 with an impressive and engaging video board production. This also included custom panels to manage the various onboard cameras of the drivers in their cars.
That's cool. I mean, obviously, I've been to the, probably most people on this call have not been to the track, but it has never been known for being cutting edge technology. So I think it finally stepped it up. Roger Penske definitely said, okay, we're going to make this thing a world-class facility. And now how about as far as NASCAR? Because obviously NBC this week has taken over duties from Fox Sports, who handles the first half of the season. So walk us through the use of that you've seen as far as AR graphics within the motorsports world.
Oh yeah, actually I was watching Shanks and Zach Fields on an event earlier this morning talking about some of this actually. But yeah, on the NASCAR side, and and Fox has always pushed technology, but we work with a partner who's responsible for collecting all the real-time positional data using the GPS transponders in the cars. They were looking for a render platform to drive their technology to generate all the pointers on the cars and help the viewers follow the action. So they selected XPression, and XPression has allowed them to have a flexible platform to streamline their ability to customize the look and feel of the graphics based on the network brand for Fox Sports and NBC, as well as respond quickly to their requests for new ideas on a race weekend.
That's great. Yeah, it's amazing to think back even like 6 or 7 years ago, how much you were in the dark watching a race as far as the separation between the drivers, the speeds. It's amazing how much this technology has really kind of transformed everything from not only the fan experience, but also for the teams, right? Their ability to kind of understand what's going on the track. So yeah, David, from your actually, sorry, Kevin, one more thing. Service TV Red Bull, since I have you, we want to talk about studio operations a little bit. Red Bull's obviously a big player in Austria and around the world. So walk us through your role there with their studio operations.
Yeah, this is a topic and project we are very excited about at Ross. It highlights some of our latest technology for extended reality with the Unreal Engine. XR is sort of a hot trend in all forms of production, film, TV, music, ever since people have seen like The Mandalorian and how that was put together. But, Ross has been providing solutions for augmented reality and virtual sets for many years. We migrated to using the Unreal Engine with our Voyager product a few years ago. Now, traditionally, customers have been using green screen for their virtual production. What's new for us is the use of LED boards, as I mentioned, and using camera track content with Voyager and Unreal. So yeah, the project with Red Bull and Service TV, they built out a new studio. And of course, using these studios and being able to adapt the content, whether they're producing studio programming for F1, MotoGP, or their other sports properties, it's nice to have that flexibility based on the production that day. So they have an LED video wall mixed with an LED floor, and they're able to use that input our content via Voyager and simulate the garage and pit lane at these motorsports events. So, what's unique about using LED versus green screen is that the presenters are able to interact with the environment. So since they can actually see the content in the video boards, is instead of staring at, a green wall. The blend of XR and AR gives Red Bull an immersive experience for their viewers with engaging visuals, despite being in a studio several miles away from the event. So Red Bull is excited to welcome back live audiences, hopefully soon, into their studios as well. So for the viewers being in studio, being able to see the content in the screens as opposed to looking at a green room provides a better experience.
Yeah, that's for sure. So, I mean, do you think in general that the LED, that environment's gonna overtake green screen? I mean, there's obviously some benefits to both, but what's your sense is that mix of green screen versus LED?
Yeah, I mean, green screen is not going to go away. It's more cost effective. But as I mentioned, using LED, especially in film and television, your presenters or your actors are able to, respond to what's happening in those, and the dynamic lighting that's happening because of that sort of streamlines the post-production process. But yeah, I think it's only going to grow, especially in broadcast. And so we're excited to be able to offer a solution for both with traditional green screen and with XR. And then of course, using AR to bring in models of cars or bring in, models of motorcycles and the tracks and things like that. That's not really new, but it's pretty cool what Red Bull is able to do to kind of blend those two technologies.
Sure. So David, from your perspective, obviously, because your clients are using their systems to distribute content around the globe and going to studio shows, I'm assuming around the globe. Have you heard any use cases of that as far as those far-flung rights holders kind of tapping into this and bringing in highlights for their studio shows and those sort of operations?
Yeah, absolutely. Global access. I mean, if you break it down, we talked earlier on, about the production companies getting the content in. On the other side is access. Now that can be anyone. It can be international and domestic broadcasters taking that content for their own shows. That can be raw content from the footage. It can be archive content that we've brought in. For example, with Formula E, we've got everything that they've ever filmed, basically going back to the first season, which is always useful. On some of our events, we've got up to 2,000 global recipients. And it's broadcasters, it could be press associations, it could be teams, it could be drivers, it could be sponsors looking at how their brand was portrayed in the content. So one important thing, kind of a key differentiator for a digital media hub is when we say AI powered, it's not just plugging into a couple of engines, it's plugging into a complete operating system called AIware, which orchestrates over 20 cognitive categories. So, the power of discoverability and automated workflows is amazing. But yes, global access is key for many different downstream use cases.
Right. So is for the AI, then it's all about the searchability and the ability for people to find exactly what it is they want, right?
Yeah. I mean, for example, with Formula E, we're running 3 main cognitive engines. We're running face recognition. And I know what you're going to say. You've got helmets on, but obviously on the roster after the races and the celebrities and the team, we've pre-trained all of the drivers, the teams, and the key stakeholders to recognize their faces, so we can go instantly to the faces. But broadcasters as well, if they've got basically footage of the live race, we can use things like speech to text, which listens to the commentary and gives it instant searchability to a key phrase, etc. And then again on logo recognition, well, of course, motorsports, like any other sports, is really dependent on sponsorship. So we can basically give an ROI back and tell you the airtime of the sponsor during the race, etc., and then multiple other use cases around AI.
Yeah, it's funny. At IBC. Remember IBC? Remember these shows?
Yeah, I'm familiar.
A few years back, I did a panel on the main stage about the logo recognition within Formula One and the ability to measure how often a logo is on screen and then tell the sponsor, oh, by the way, this is how much airtime you got, was huge. And back then, so it's only getting bigger and bigger. So I want to kind of lean into a little bit about the new workflows that everybody's kind of been embracing, right? Obviously, the remote production is at a whole new level when it comes to motorsports, and a lot of teams have been working from 1,000 miles away from the tracks. David, from your perspective, what have you kind of seen the past year? How has that driven the use of cloud tools, cloud-based environments, and more virtualized technologies?
It's huge. Obviously, COVID-19 has kind of pushed us all towards remote working in all walks of life. But broadcast productions, etc. They've had to embrace different working environments, etc. So, I mean, we are cloud native. We do have hybrid and on-prem solutions for our different divisions, which are kind of government and legal. But in media and entertainment and sports, we're predominantly cloud native, which means everything's up there. It's scalable, it's elastic, etc. But we've always been like that. So just what we've seen is actually more people joining us, in the remote production. And partners like Base Media Cloud, they actually provide remote editing solutions which integrate with our platform as well. But yes, all of the sports customers that I'm talking about, the Gran Turismo Sport, the Extreme E, Formula E, ETRC, they're all using these cloud solutions to actually harness their content and distribute it from production.
Right, right. Now, do you find, obviously, because you have multiple clients, and Kevin and I said the same question, do they have different philosophies towards the way they use your technologies? Or they say, we all got cars, they're all going fast, we all got drivers, they're all driving these cars, so it's very similar. Or are there some distinctions between them?
Well, of course, when it comes to Formula E and Extreme E, these are electric series, and it's basically, if you take Extreme E, it's motor racing. It uses groundbreaking electric SUVs. They race in remote parts. There's no audience there. They sail there on a ship with their production company. It's all about the carbon footprint, et cetera, and raising awareness for climate change. I mean, so a cloud native solution for them is paramount. And we've got a use case video. Dave Adey, the head of broadcast and technology at Extreme E, he introduces the sport, and then we go on and talk about how they use our solution.
Oh, great. Let's take a look.
So I'm Dave Adey. I'm head of broadcast and technology for Extreme E. So if I were to give you my elevator pitch, fully electric SUVs, they're not hybrid. Imagine Paris-Dakar rally type cars racing in the far-flung corners of the world. We're calling it sport for purpose because what we want to do is shine the spotlight on the climate crisis that we're all facing in all parts of the world. What the viewer should see on screen, we've got 2 days of really fast, high-impact racing. A knockout competition, if you like. 2 drivers, male and female. The races are about 15 minutes long, so we're keeping everything down to the short, sharp, adrenaline-filled, action-packed sequences.
Excellent. So I know that obviously, fuel efficiency is a big thing, not only in Extreme, for the production crews. So do you think that, what's your sense as far as, we're just spitballing right now, as far as the future of, this whole movement towards electrical car racing? Do you think this is going to even broaden things out further? Are we going to get to electric bikes and scooters?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, well, we have to do it on a domestic level as well, don't we? Even
right.
though it's a bit controversial about where we exactly are at the moment. But it's, I mean, the message is absolutely clear, and it's a huge piece. So Formula E is incredibly successful. Extreme E, they're getting rights deals and distribution deals, and the racing drivers who are taking part and signing up for teams and individually, it's an A-list. So absolutely. I think in the relationship to what we're doing in the solution, we've got another clip coming where Dave Adey talks about the importance of content, because in Extreme E's case, there are no spectators in the middle of the Saudi Arabia desert. Right. So content is really important. And then he talks now about remote production to keep carbon footprints to a minimum. And then he'll talk about the key features of Digital Media Hub, which is very interesting from a customer's perspective.
We have no spectators at track, so for us, content is imperative. What we're employing is remote production. So we will have a minimal production staff on site, and then we will have a split site. There will be a gallery back in London. Because it's cloud-based, we have the opportunity to upload pretty much anywhere we want. We'll be creating content anywhere. Once we've stored it, we need to be able to do stuff with it. We need to find any of the content that we have. So having a good metadata schema, being able to design a user interface where it's intuitive for people to find the content they want. Once you've found it, you want to be able to view it, whether you can view a proxy version online. We might want to manipulate that content. We might want to create clips. We might want to transcode to different flavors, which we can all do within this system.
Excellent. So, sorry, Kevin, I wanted to bring you in here, fold you in the conversation. Obviously, Ross Video at the forefront of a lot of technological innovations. David, you're a fearless leader, definitely has his eye on the horizon and the far horizon. So what's your sense as far as the last year in cloud-based production, the changes you've seen in remote production?
Yeah, I mean, many of our software-based production tools have been in the cloud for many years, like Inception, our newsroom system, and Streamline. During the pandemic, when many of the sports productions were put on hold, the first vertical to get back to production was esports, as you mentioned. So that helped us work with our partners to develop our production cloud, which is Interstellar, to let remote contributors and operators get back to producing content from the safety of their own homes. We're also able to use Voyager and Unreal to create virtual environments to bring the players into their arenas and battle each other in these gaming events. But as we've talked about, how do we get less people on site, both, to take care of the environment, less travel costs. You see smaller footprints. So the ability to potentially control equipment remotely, is pretty key to what we're providing for our customers these days. And a lot of work is also happening at Ross to develop our video production tools for the cloud, like switching and graphics. So in those cases, you're always facing the challenges of bandwidth, latency and timing. But one specific development on our front is integrating XPression engine in AWS, outputting NDI into cloud-based router infrastructures. So again, operators can log into XPression instances using Amazon Nice DCV, TeamViewer, or Teradici. So therefore, they can contribute to these productions, from the safety of their own homes. The XPression UI is responsive. It's usable for both template design and playback. And many of our workflow tools like the Project Server Encoder and MOS Gateway can also be installed in the cloud. And then on the, the Red Bull front, you can see, by using a studio, not having to travel those contributors on site because that footprint is smaller, but you're still having the people on site being able to throw to studio. And because of the use of, hyper realistic content with Voyager and Unreal, you can still feel like they're part of the production. They're able to use those AR elements and XR to replicate, those things that you only find on site at the racetrack, but still produce all that stuff from their local TV studios.
Excellent, great. Yeah, and David, I guess it is great to see how these cloud technologies are allowing for more remote, and I mean like remote, like being in the desert, remote productions. It's kind of fascinating how you used to have to say, well, we can only do this event in a big city because we have to be near, a production hub, if you will. So it's fascinating to see how both of your companies are kind of changing this and opening up new ways for these productions to grow and to find new cities and towns to be held in, and deserts and forests and what have you. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, David, as far as just the advance of technology and how it's going to keep growing the sports.
Absolutely, remote production is the future. I mean, it's an interesting use case with Gran Turismo Sport, for example. I mean, we talk about esport, and obviously, Formula E, Extreme E, everybody's looking at esport as alongside the live footage as well. But with Gran Turismo, we've got Digital Media Hub as the central hub supporting the FIA certified Gran Turismo championships, including the Nations Cup and Manufacturer Series. Obviously, yes, we aggregate all of their content from raw material to live events, regionals through to the finals. And through COVID and lockdown, it's obviously the live events have suffered a little bit, but online has exploded. And we were working with up to 80 remote drivers of the Gran Turismo game, basically during the World Championships. And they were all sent a small production pack by Polyphony and Sony Interactive Entertainment. And they were filming themselves and uploading to the Digital Media Hub for production and then for distribution. So just one small use case, but just returning to a final piece on Extreme E. We've got a final clip from our friend Dave Adey, Extreme E, and he talks about the benefits of cloud, including the cost effectiveness. And cloud is at the heart of remote, right? We know that. But basically, he talks about the likes of Veritone and Base Media Cloud and his production partners like Aurora having a high and clear environmental credentials. And for us, it's basically because we're cloud native. That's kind of proven to be a lot greener than on-prem, et cetera, for many reasons. But he also states that the new norm for sports production is the new norm will be sports production and remote editing for sure. So it'd be great to to hear from Dave.
One of the benefits of a cloud-based solution is that the distribution of that content is much more cost effective. I don't have to put up a satellite feed to do a highlights program. We can create those programs in London, we can upload them into our content management system, and then they are accessible via accelerated download by any of our rights holders and media partners around the world. So it was really important, not only with Aurora as one of our technology partners, but also Base Media Cloud and Veritone. You know, they have very high and very clear environmental credentials. Going forwards, the new generation will want anything, anytime, anywhere. And that's one of the key things for us, particularly in our content acquisition and storage that Base can provide for us. So I see going forwards, the new norm will be remote production. Cloud-based services will also be the new norm.
Yeah, I think, so it's another great clip. So I think, the trick is that obviously, I think, and for both of your organizations, the cool thing is going to see how your organizations and all the organizations start to kind of work together in the cloud environments and really sort of enable this whole sort of more unified philosophies. And Kevin, you mentioned that Russ's own tools making the move into the cloud, but once those tools start connecting to other people's tools, then that's where we kind of really hit this nirvana in terms of production. So, your thoughts on that, Kevin? Put you on the spot.
Well, yeah, we always, play nicely with all of our partner vendors. A
lot of them.
They're very key to all this. We're not providing all of that technology. End-to-end solutions are important to Ross, but we know that we've got to, work collectively with a lot of our partners. So we're constantly testing in those environments, and working with them both on, specific projects with our customers, our mutual customers, because ultimately their interests are, most important to us, but also, in test environments just between vendors. So yeah, it's key to work collectively on that front.
Sure. Excellent. Well, look forward to seeing you both later this year in person somewhere. I know it's going to happen. It's definitely going to happen now. So Good to see you both. Thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate all the support here from SVG Europe. And Abby, back to you.